10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is July 28th. Before we get started, I'd like to apologize for missing yesterday's an episode yesterday. We've been out of power all day yesterday, and there's been no internet. My node is down. It's no fun. Also, my wife was sick. There was a whole lot going on yesterday. It was a really long day. So by the time it came time to when I would record, I just wasn't able to. So sorry. But I've got an episode coming out today, and hopefully I'll make up for you over the weekend as well by putting out an extra episode if there's content out there. So we're going to start with this comment from Non-Fungible Yokum saying, whoa, Aave optimism has E-mode for rETH. So here he's saying that, E-mode, of course, we've talked about here a lot. It's a leveraged position making system for rETH. Well, E-mode works for any token, I guess, but for rETH, the way it works is, you bring your ETH to Aave, you swap it for no, sorry, that's the wrong way around. You bring your rETH to Aave, you swap that for ETH, then you take that ETH to Rocket Pool, you deposit it into the deposit pool, you swap it into rETH, then you take that again to Aave, and you do that a number of times to kind of like maximize the yield for yourself. On mainnet, so far it's not been profitable because the interest rate that Aave charges for borrowing ETH was higher than the interest rate that they had for that you'd get from staking. So, the rewards rate you'd get from staking, so it just wasn't profitable. You'd only be compounding your payments basically. But anyway, it turned on for Optimism, so let's have a look at what's going on here. So with Optimism here, you can see that they have a 6,000 ETH cap supply. 170 of that is being taken. Sorry, rETH cap. So then the borrowing here is 6 ETH worth. So there's one difference from the mainnet looping is that here the TVL is 90%. I think that's higher on mainnet. We'll check in a minute. But the main thing here is the utilization rate, right, is 3.6%. So that's the rate that they charge on borrowing the ETH against your rETH. So that is the number that we kind of need to keep in mind. So on Optimism it's 6%. Here on mainnet, you can see that that's something else. Here it is, APY variable. So the 3.7%. So those are kind of the numbers for ETH. And then if we have a look over here on mainnet, we've used about 30,000 out of the 40,000, and the actual amount borrowed is not too high. It's 385 out of 2,400. So the numbers are kind of like there. One of the things that you could look at as well is like the borrow rate for ETH on mainnet is around 3.7%. And one interesting thing here is to have a look at the reward that you get at the moment for rETH. So here using Invis's bot, you see that on a 7-day average right now is 3.66%. However, if all our validators were fully online, which hopefully they will be soon, or more of them will be soon, because you can see the effectiveness rate here on the chart, like the blue line. Give me a second, let me change that. Yeah, this blue line over here in the chart is trending upwards. That means more and more of our validators are coming back to being online and effective. And once that line goes up, then of course our APR goes up as well. So you can see here that if all our validators were online, then we'd be at 4.2% rETH rewards. So comparing that to the borrow rate from Aave, you can see that it's very, very slightly profitable now to loop. Of course, the bigger that gap between the rETH rewards and the Aave borrowing, the more you can loop, the more you can get. So this is one of the reasons why I guess rETH is waiting to launch because they see that this, the reward percentage is going up, so it'll start to become profitable. So it'll be worth it for you to start looping, whether you do that yourself through Aave, whether you do that through rETH, then there's going to be different strategies for doing that. But hopefully that will become profitable soon, which hopefully will mean that we can drive some more rETH demand. That would be really exciting. And then again, with we had a little bit more here from Aave as well. So we talked about how they had a limit on the RPL deposits of 105,000 RPL tokens. Well, they expanded that to 210,000, so they doubled it to RPL tokens. So because the pool was full, so a lot of people had deposited their RPL into that, and now you can see the borrowing is slowly going up as well. So there's 23,300 RPL has been borrowed, and those the percentage is starting to go up now of the cost. So I said that it would kind of level out somewhere around just below the staking rewards, RPL staking rewards point, and I think that we should get to that point hopefully soon. Like, it's looking like there's getting some usage here, so that's really cool to see. Like 23,000 RPL has been borrowed, and the APY for that right now is 2.21%. So if those people are staking that, they're making a nice little bit of income on that amount, which is pretty cool. Okay, let's move on from that. Next, we have some tokenomics discussion. So we gave a bit of coverage a couple of episodes ago to Pieter, who wrote a Steelman for why he thinks what different kinds of personas would sell their RPL based on this tokenomics change. So Val kind of responded to that, saying, had time to write out my thoughts on Pieter Steelman. With Lisa, that was one of the personas. He says he's unclear why the tokenomics change would cause her to swap from RPL heavy to RPL light. He says this is really important. If we don't have a good reason for it, I'll posit there might be another persona, Asil, which is Lisa backwards, that gains confidence from the improved alignment of the proposal and flips from minimum to high. And he says, I do grant that some folks like Lisa or Asil would not bother thinking through what intermediate allocation best suits their beliefs and will flip. And then there's Brian, and then he says, this one's interesting to me. If Brian believes that in the long run we'll get a mature near-term minimum state, then either A, Brian believes the mature state will have RPL be more valuable, or B, Brian believes that the price will crest higher than what's justified by the mature state and is looking to dump during this bubble. If A, then I think Brian can update his model, since it seems he doesn't actually rely on average collateral. If B, I don't support purposefully pumping token price to help speculators dump. And then there's Mark, Jennifer, and Robert, and kind of talking about their personas that Pieter suggested, their inverse personas as well, and what that might look like, and what all the different dynamics might come together. And then he says there's combination scenario as well. I do believe that people can react to narrative, and that can feed on itself. Witness people blaming this thread for a downtrend in RPL price that began long before it. That can happen in either direction. In short, I acknowledge there are real, potentially large risks involved with change. I believe there are also real, potentially large risks involved with refusal to change. As such, I don't think our mainline choices should be driven by either of those. I do think it's critical to think about how to minimize those risks, making things digestible, talking to achieve significant consensus, ramping things in, etc., etc. So then there were some other things, but then Pieter got back and says thanks for the detailed response, and he says, in essence, I mostly agree with your conclusion bullet points, especially with regards to the risk minimization approaches. I also agree with the concept of anti-personas who hold opposing viewpoints. In my limitation section, I mentioned purposefully only focusing on personas that would sell to make the case for at least the possibility of a sell-off with negative long-term effects. But what we can't say is that each persona has opposite and equally weighted counterpart. It all depends on how common each view is among the population. Here I'd be very interested to learn of the results of Wanda's upcoming survey. Also, communication and education are definitely important, but in the end people can still rationally disagree on the path forward. We should be willing to accept all outcomes here, even if we consider them less efficient ourselves. And then he kind of goes and talks talks about the different personas, Lisa, Mark, Brian, Jennifer, Robert, etc. And then that starts a discussion between Waldorf, Pieter, and then Noshua gets involved. And then eventually like Wanda comes in and starts talking about this as well. I'm not going to go through every point. I've already talked about some of the main ones that you can like interact with, but please go and give this whole conversation a read. I know there's a whole lot to digest here, but it's quite valuable information here. Philippe says, damn, I need GPT-4 to summarize the thread. I can't keep up. So there's a whole lot going on, but I think there's some really good conversations that are taking place. I'm not really going to focus on any specific comments here, but I really advise you to go and read through the comments that kind of came out of this conversation, and what the different psychological makeups might be, how it might impact the community, and all the things that will happen based on that. So there's a whole lot of conversation happening here, so I suggest that you go and give it a read. So there's some good stuff. Okay, moving on from that. Next we had this risk assessment, collateral risk assessment for Rocket Pool ETH from Prisma Risk. I think Prisma Risk are involved with Prisma Finance, who are working to onboard collateral types for their borrowing lending protocol. It's kind of like a liquidity fork, I think. I remember covering them on Rocket Fuel before. But anyway, they did a really, really detailed report of all the different things that kind of go into rETH, how it works, the protocol, how it's all set up, how Rocket Pool works, the yield mechanisms, node operators, the validator selection, all of that stuff. And then kind of goes on to talk about all the different components that go into it. They do performance analysis of the token itself and how it works everywhere. There's so much content in here. It's literally a very, very, very detailed report. They break down where all the different liquidity is and what people are using rETH for. Balances has 31,000, Maker has 28,000, Aave has 26,000, and so on. All the way down to Morpho has 200 rETH there, but they give really good breakdown of all the different things, and eventually they even talk about the effect, the chart that I was showing a little while ago about the how the validators being online will change effectiveness, will change rewards, so all of that kind of stuff. They talked about the different slashings that have happened, and there's a whole lot of information here. I've kind of skimmed through it. There were a couple of things that I was kind of questioning, but maybe that was just because I didn't engage with it a little bit more closely. But this is really as you can see, I've been scrolling the whole time I've been talking, and there's a whole lot in here that you can check out. The nice thing is at the end they have this section risk management, and then have a risk rating, so you can kind of skip to this to see what they think of rETH overall. So they said we rank rETH good in liquidity because despite having a fraction of the TVL as STETH, it has comparable liquidity depth in relation to its market cap. And we rank rETH good in volatility because since the merge rETH has not depegged. We rank rETH good in smart contract because there have been multiple smart contract audits, including an audit for the most recent Atlas update. We rank rETH good in dependencies because there is a reliable price feed available for rETH. The ODAO is somewhat centralized mechanism for updating rates and other processes between consensus and execution layer, requiring 10 of 18 members to reach consensus. We rank rETH okay in decentralization. This is one of the things that I was kind of made me question the report, but they're saying that because the current bootstrapping phase, a team controlled wallet acts as the guardian on behalf of the DAO. It can set parameters and handle treasury funds. The ODAO is a multi-sig that has significant power in the system, including to update contracts. So I think that what's really good here is that the mechanisms are changing in the coming months. So the ODAO is going to be losing a lot of its power with future Ethereum updates, and the Guardian is going to be going away hopefully in the next update with the on-chain voting for the PDAO. So that is one blemish basically for rETH. And then it says we rank rETH good and legal because Rocket Pool has a legal entity. Rocket Pool Pty Limited that provides front-end and technology services to support the system. They appear to cover their liabilities through the team's terms of use and do not have any current or historical enforcement actions against them. However, due to the centralized guardian role, they may be exposed to legal liability in the future. So that again is another reason why the guardian role needs to be removed. Then they have a chart comparing it to the other protocols. So we're better than some in some of them, we are worse than others in others. So for example, legal, we're joint best with decentralization. The Guardian issue here pushes us down a notch, and Lido is counted as more decentralized. With dependencies, we're joint best. With smart contract, CPETH is better, but then we're equal with the rest of them. With volatility, we're second best, joint with Frax being ahead of us. And then with liquidity, we are third best behind STETH and Frax, who are ahead. So our overall assessment is that rETH performs quite well all around, with the exception of some centralization concerns compared to its DeFi competitors. rETH provides good balance. It scores somewhat lower than Frax in the market risk side, but scores higher on legal independencies. We've scored it higher than STETH in volatility, as it does not experience problematic volatility events that STETH has. However, it doesn't score as high as STETH on decentralization or liquidity. Our opinion is that the strongest case to limit protocol exposure to rETH is the potentially problematic centralization vector posed by a team-controlled Guardian, and to a lesser extent the 18-member Oracle DAO. This exposes users to additional counterparty risk and possible legal issues in the future, though Rocket Pool's legal history does appear to be very clean. Otherwise, rETH represents a well-rounded LSD product. From a risk perspective, it would make a suitable addition to the collateral basket with minority exposure after WSTETH. Rocket Pool's transition to on-chain governance should be monitored, at which point it will be appropriate to consider a more dominant rETH presence within the basket. So that is the one factor, right, that's really being pointed out here, is that we really need to move to the on-chain voting soon, ASAP, hopefully before the end of the year, I hope, and that I think will just reduce some of those issues even more and kind of boost us up. I think things like liquidity will come as the PDAO has more money for the IMC. If Asper's proposal goes through, that will definitely boost liquidity. Volatility, I think we've been really good so far. We've been basically right at peg pretty much for the last while. I guess we've gone over peg a little bit. There's been a premium at times, but since Atlas, we've been right at peg. Smart contract, I don't know what else we could do with smart contract, but yeah, this is a really nice report. If you're curious, go and read it. There's some really good content in there. Okay, next we've got this discrepancy from what Grafana is showing and what is actually real. So we've got a screenshot here from Grafana saying that the total ETH locked in the Rocket Pool protocol is more than 1 million ETH now. That's just counting the node operator ETH that's actually being staked. It's not counting the TVL in terms of the RPL token as well. So it hit 1 million milestone, right? So that's a really exciting thing to see, and people were kind of excited about that. However, the truth is, and thanks to Invis for sharing this, the numbers are actually a little bit different. So the total ETH locked is actually around 800,000, which is also a nice landmark to hit. However, I think the Grafana wasn't counting people who've exited or burned rETH maybe, so it's not getting the full numbers. But if we have a look, in mini pools we have 781,000 ETH. rETH collateral we have 5,700. Undistributed balances we have nearly 11,000. Unclaimed rewards we have nearly 256 ETH. And then with RPL we've got 950,000 RPL pretty much locked. That's mostly staked. There's 182,000 in unclaimed rewards. There's no slashed RPL, and unused inflation is 2,600. So the total value locked of the Rocket Pool protocol right now is 950,000 ETH, just about, but that's including the RPL as well. So we've still got some growth to go before we hit 1 million ETH, and we've got a little bit of growth to go before we hit 1 million ETH worth in total, and that's around 1.772 billion DAI. So Invis says that looks good to me. That looks good to me too. So yeah, thanks for clarifying that, Invis, because I think they were causing some confusion in the community, and yeah, that's still pretty healthy, but hopefully we'll be hitting that million ETH target soon. Okay, and finally I'm going to finish with this update from Gravita, who put out this post saying that they're unveiling Gravita and Arbitrum, and Gravita is now fully deployed on Arbitrum, so they're changing some of their parameters for how much you can borrow and how that all works. So it says enjoy extremely low cost borrowing starting from new minimum of 200 Grai instead of 2000 like on mainnet, and the same one-time 0.5% fee as before, and it's 0% APR, so they'll never charge any interest on your loan. And got questions, read below. So let's have a look. It says is there anything different? Yeah, there is some differences, but like the main fundamentals are still the same. You can still benefit from 0% interest on loans. The 0.5% one-time fee is still pro rata refunded for loans shorter than 6 months. Moreover, all the parameters have been reduced by a factor of 10. So now what does that mean? It says the new minimum size for a vessel is 200 Grai, down from 2000 on mainnet. The liquidation reserve is now 20 Grai instead of 200, and that documentation will soon be updated to reflect these changes. What assets will be supported? This is the main thing here. So they're going to keep the assets from mainnet. So they're going to go with rETH, WST-ETH, and wrapped ETH, and then you just toggle the chain that you want to use on their front end. So instead of going on mainnet, you just go onto Arbitrum, and then when more soon. So you can work with that, which is really exciting. So then the first question is, when will it be on ZK Sync? And Gravita is saying next we need to build some liquidity there. The LST liquidity is lacking at the moment. In the meantime, the Arbitrum deployment brings so much of the same benefits with a lot to like about liquidity. And yes, you can also already bridge Grai to ZK Sync if you wish to do so. So I think that they're launching an Arbitrum now. I wouldn't be surprised if it comes to Optimism very, very soon. Optimism, of course, has a whole lot of rETH liquidity there, and now with the Aave going to Optimism as well, it seems like there's a big push happening on Optimism overall. Optimism as well this week overtook Arbitrum for number of transactions per day, which is the first time in months that they've done that. So Optimism definitely is on the big uptrend right now. They're positioning themselves really well with like base and all these other things that they're doing. So Gravita probably will go to Optimism soon, and ZK Sync soon as well. So if you are interested in setting up a position with Gravita, but you were put off by the fees and the sizes on mainnet, now you can go to Arbitrum and enjoy the same services there. So I hope you all if you want to take part in that, feel free to. Thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community, and I will see you all at some point this weekend probably. Bye.